I'm a big behavioral person, which is like anything can be trained. Even like, man, he has such a great personality. It's like, what is personality? Well, personality is probably 170 individual skills. And so if one of them is when someone walks in the room, you stand up, I can train that. If it means that like when someone's talking, I need you to nod your head like this when the other person talks. I can train that. And if we just had to make a checklist, it's just because it's hard to describe doesn't mean that's impossible to teach.
That's interesting. Okay, so the spark, the thing that causes somebody to finally get into it, can be translated into a set of behaviors.
Totally.
And then if you get the set of behaviors, then you're going to be in a position to go.
Right.
All right. So what are some of the behaviors that people are doing now that you think are destructive, and what do we replace them with?
A lot of it is inaction. Right, like I'd love to say like all these people are failing and this is the thing that would fix it. Is like most people just don't take action to begin with. And so I think a lot of it's between their ears. To your point, which is why I talk a lot about fear of failure, being the actual enemy rather than failure itself. And really even the idea that people are like, I'm afraid of failing. No one's afraid of failing. People are afraid of other people's judgment about their failure. If you could fail in private and no one would know, like when you play video games and you lose the level, you're not embarrassed. Right? Like you lose.
Interesting. So I've heard you say that before, and I've always agreed.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is something that will chip away at somebody. So it comes down to, what do you build your self-esteem around? This was the big breakthrough in my life, was the day that I realized I got to choose what I built my self-esteem around. And I had been building my self-esteem around being smart. And so I was constantly putting myself in a position where I could prove to myself and others that I was smart. Now, I began to realize we are both the shout and the echo. And I wish it weren't so. I wish we weren't the echo. And what I mean by that is you're what you do, but you're also what other people say about what you do. And as a just unimaginably social creature, it is baked so deeply into our DNA.
Right.
I don't think there's any escaping that. So you come into, whether it's playing video games or trying to build a business or whatever, with a lifetime of being both the shout and the echo.
Yeah.
So you have a sense of who you are. You've mapped your self-esteem. And now if part of your self-esteem is, I'm good at this thing.
Yeah.
After a while, like you're way happier to fail in private because nobody sees you. So there's no new echo reinforcing what an asshole you are. But I don't think you have unlimited failures on your side before you go, fuck, maybe I'm really not good at this thing. And if your self-esteem is about being good at that thing, then it really will begin to erode you. Do you have, assuming I'm right about that, do you have a thing that you encourage people to build their self-esteem around to avoid the kind of traps that will make them afraid of failure?
I think it would be around the traits, which can be evidenced by the things you do, which I think is probably where you made your shift. This is me assuming here, but like it's not about being intelligent, but about being like hardworking, right? It's like if you build your identity around that trait, then you can always do more of it. Like you can always work harder. You can always put extra reps in, et cetera. And I think if people build that trait as their identity and where they get their self-esteem from, then it becomes a self-reinforcing cycle, but they're the ones who are in control of it rather than the outcome. And so that way it's like all of the variables of your identity and your self-confidence are under your control, which I think is cool.
Which is very cool. So have you identified the trait smorgasbord that people have at their ready to be thoughtful about? So for instance, being smart would be a trait, being honorable, being honest, being hardworking. What should people be building their self-esteem around? What traits? Is there one? Is there a magic handful?
Look at your bank account. Now look at mine. Now look at your bank account. Now back to mine. Sadly, it doesn't look like mine. But it could if you joined Skool. Come with me. Where are you? You're at a party, but not just any party, your party. And you get to decide who's invited. You can come in, my dear. You cannot. Give me your money. And because it's your party, it can be free or it can be paid. It's up to you. And you're talking about whatever you want to talk about because it's your party. Learning and having fun. But don't believe me, look at these numbers. This is the real leaderboard from last month. And sure, I could talk about Bill, who's making $62,000 a month, helping people bookkeep better. Or Jamie, helping women invest, making $41,000 a month. But what about the average Skool community? Well, the average paid community makes $1,360 per month. How about them apples? What's that? The ticket to the thing that you've always wanted to go to. My headquarters here in Vegas. Become one of the top 10 communities and you can fly out. Look, over there. The ticket is now a torch. No, it's an engagement ring to the business of your dreams so that you can marry it forever. Because 1 out of 2 businesses on Skool create money online. Anything is possible on Skool. Click the link to start for free.